Hi guys, the old man's back. This is a no chips video. It's sort of catching up on some loose ends really. So sorry, bit of a waffle intro. Somewhat unrehearsed. I just got some notes here to try and mention a few things. First off, I was very sad to hear of the death of Lawrence Harrison, who had a YouTube channel and didn't do a lot of videos, but he did put some up, and I was in contact with him on and off over a period of time. He didn't have the best luck in the world, but I had a text from his sister Denise, I think it is, who said that he was riding his bicycle and got hit by a car and died, which is very sad indeed. I've since had a link to the memorial page website. I'll put a link to that underneath if anybody does want to go and check it out. I don't think he had a huge following on his channel, but there might be somebody looking at this who remembers him. So rather sad, rather sad. Now the next item is a visit. It's a visit from Pierre and Phil from Canada, and they'd been to Mr. Pete's very successful meet and greet, and they travelled from there. I think they did Kentucky, Ohio, and then they came across to me in PA here, and it was an absolute joy to see them. I was honoured, in fact. And Phil brought a box of pieces of material, which is quite heavy, and thanks Phil again. So that was a very pleasant break from the usual routine. Then I put in just a few little snippets of my 6th grandchild. It's maybe not very exciting for most people, but I have to admit that whilst when I was younger I was not a huge baby fan, even when I had my own two. It was always a rather noisy, messy stage, but this little guy, Oliver, I guess he's my step-grandchild because he's the son of my stepson, Cody. Lovely little guy. And I think probably as we get older, particularly my sort of age, when you're in the last chapter of life, so to speak, you look at these little bundles of innocence with a slightly different viewpoint. Great little guy, fascinating, and Bonnie, my wife, looks after him now and again. Then there's a few little snippets of footage from some flooding we had about just over 2 weeks ago, I think, before that awful Florence hurricane, and the Carolinas just got absolutely destroyed. I mean, my heart goes out to all those folks, and even some up in the Midwest. Never had a year with so much rain, not that I recall. But anyway, our bit of flooding here was a bit dodgy for a while, and even today it's raining on top of saturated soil, standing water everywhere. It gets very tiresome. And then finally, I don't know how it'll work out actually, I just took some handheld shots trying to sort out a small harbour freight generator, which wasn't successful because the carburetor refused, despite a huge amount of work on it, refused to behave properly. It was just flooding. I guess needle valve, which I couldn't seem to cure. So I threw that in. Maybe the breakdown process of getting at the carb was useful for somebody who wants to deal with the same sort of problem. I've actually found and ordered a spare carburetor, so hopefully get the thing going. Anyway, that's about it. Way too much waffle. I think it'll be a fairly short video. I haven't put it together yet. But beyond that, hopefully I shall be out doing some chips. You see, it's not as hot. It's decidedly pleasant and cool. So till next time, when hopefully the chips will fly for a change, I'll say bye for now. Thanks for watching. and take care of yourselves. Bye. You take the high stool.
Come on, monkey.
Yeah, we are recording now. So, for your information, we don't have Robert, so this is a 2-monkey visit.
Yeah,
monkey number 1 and wannabe number 1.
Yeah, he thinks he's number 1.
Pierre and Phil. I'm at a disadvantage here because these two have met just about everybody, including, I've still got to get your take on Mr. Pete's visit, but I saw Randy.
Yeah, Randy was there.
He's got a short video from Montana telling me about
amazing event.
I mean, I'd love to have been there.
250 people. That's almost.
That's what he said. I mean,
that's almost the bash.
Yeah, it is the bash, pretty much.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Anyway, it's a big welcome to these two in PA. You're a long way from home.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we wanted to meet, so we've been.
I can't believe it.
Communicating to the comments and
No, Pierre and I were planning a shop trip in the States in the mid to northeast.
But you've sure done some miles.
Yeah, we've done a few miles by now. I think we're on the
your estimate initially was 1,500 wasn't it?
No, well that's just to Mr. Pete's house.
Oh.
No, the round tour will be.
The round tour is 4,000 kilometers, about 2,500 miles.
It's a long way.
And that's true.
Anyway, it's a big welcome to these guys. So. This will get inserted in a video somewhere.
No problem.
But it's so unreal. You see these guys' faces on their channels and they're like all that way away and they're here. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, that's fun.
It's the same for us. Every time we meet somebody new, it's the same.
Yeah, but you're well ahead of me on the meeting game. You've been to...
we've been to the bash.
You've been to the bash, you've been to Mr. Pete, you've been to Keith.
Yeah,
I've been a few places.
Get around.
We still got to go south, you know, like Florida, Texas, and things.
Oh, that's a long way.
Oh, talking about Texas, Mr.
Harold.
Mr. Harold just
he was at Mr. Pete's.
I gathered he's. Yeah, I heard that he'd been.
Yeah, and a few other people from Texas, so it was really amazing.
And
they went far.
Yeah, another one we kind of
California, Oregon.
Yeah, I really missed on that. I mean, I said to you before, without belabouring the whole process, my back is so limiting. I mean, today's a normal day, it just hurts. And I've got to be careful I don't stand too long, but if I'm driving, I'm limited to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I don't ride the bike as much as I used to. I mean, this bike replaces my real bike.
It's more comfortable, than just being...
Because my other bike I couldn't get on with before I had my hip surgery.
Yeah.
And then cost. I mean, the bit of work I do, website work. Some people would say you're only making pocket money, and Bonnie's work, the two of us together, we sort of muddle through. But you know, a long trip, I just can't do it.
No, it's quite expensive because
the hotels
and
the meals and everything
altogether,
else.
Yeah, right.
Bribing the police and all that stuff. It's a lot of money.
Well, absolutely.
I'm kidding.
Absolutely.
I'm kidding.
It's bananas. You know, we're running out of bananas for the.
Told you not to throw the banana peel out the window.
I did mention earlier on the phone. Perhaps I ought to stock up on bananas, but I think
he's well fed. I made sure he was well fed before he showed up.
I don't bite when I'm well fed. So I'm good till 4.
Oh, hang on. There's a phone.
I don't have to push a button or anything. I just put the mask in the chamber, close the lid, and it runs automatically. So Clean has been a lifesaver.
So Clean works on all popular CPAP machines and masks. Try it risk-free for 30 days. Even shipping is free. Call 1-800-29...
Ready? Here we go. Oh, now you have my hair. Ow, ow.
So the precip made a good start. In front of our yard, we usually get a big puddle there, but you can see the water's flowing, And in the front there, oh dear, look at it, water everywhere. And then looking across at my neighbours, that little shed is where he keeps his mower, and the creek has already burst its banks and is coming up in level. And that's a closer look. The levels come up even more. You can actually hardly see the creek, it's right in the background. But as time went on, of course, the level rose, and over the way, the neighbour's driveway is getting more wet, water collecting. And then in out front again, that's sort of creeping its way bigger and bigger. It's very hard to actually grasp the whole thing when you just look at a bit of video. But we're getting on to the point now where it's, I guess, this could actually be the next day, the well, the 10th Sunday. Rained all day, just non-stop, and the ground opposite is building up. You can see there a lot more, and the creek has burst sufficient now to actually be feeding into this particular area, making a bit of a lake. These folks were very lucky actually, they just about got away with it in terms of getting it into the house. And if you look behind the little shed, you might just see a bit of movement, which is the creek flowing. And this was the house next to them, and the creek had come up high enough to be flowing onto their front yard and across and into their front as well, even more, so they were getting attacked from two sides almost. Got pretty desperate actually. Now this was, I think, probably the Monday the 11th. No, this might have been later on the Sunday, but it's more or less reached its peak. Now if you look in the middle background, you might just see the surface of the creek flowing like crazy. I'm trying to look a bit closer. Here's a loop, that's why it's jerky. You can see in the middle right, you can see the rush of water. And then the next day things were settling back a bit at last. Excuse the handheld, but I'm just throwing this in for information. In case anybody's got one of these little generators. Harbour Freight, almost goes without saying. It's only a 700 watt, but it's enough to keep a few lights going. It used to run alright, and it's not that old, but it failed to start when I went to do a test run. So I thought I'd just give you an idea, in case anybody's got one and wonders what's inside and how to get at it. Took the tank off and took the feed tube off the tap, and then the pull start is taken off. I've actually got to put a new cord on it, and then this panel here, you can take off the air cleaner cover, which is that, just 2 screws, 2 very long bolts there that go through the carb, and there's a securing sort of bracket, flimsy bracket here that holds this as well. So most of this is actually held by the carburetor bolts, and there's the carb. Basic, simple. I've had the float chamber off. It's a standard float chamber, jet through the middle, and it's governed. You can see the cranked lever there, which takes the carburetor, where we are, that bar and spring, and there's a primitive choke. Anyway, I thought before I put it back together, I'd just show inside in case anybody has the same thing and has the same sort of problem. Crud in the fuel, plus the fact that somehow a bug had crept up into the air intake and died, so the butterfly wouldn't go all the way. So I'm going to put it back together and see if it works. So I say that's purely for info, in case somebody has the same. It was a very cheap generator, it was only about 99 bucks. Right, more handheld, sorry. There is the linkage and the little spring. That's the carb back in position. And then if we come to the outside, we've got that is the air intake side of the air filter, which is just a bit of sponge, and then 2 screws to put the cover back. Most of the bolts are 6mm with an 8mm socket requirement. The tank's held on with 4, and the pull cord starter, again I think it's about 4. If I get the bugger running I'll show you. If not, you won't see anything apart from possibly hearing bad language. Well, it's 2 days later. It's a numerous attempts to get this pain in the butt carburetor sorted out. Jet's clear, the needle valve seemingly is alright, it's all been cleaned out, blasted with air, everything. But still a problem. So I've sort of given up on it for now. I actually found there's a website, generatorguru.com. They seem to have a list a mile long of types of generator. This was Harbour Freight, but they no longer keep this one, although the one they have is identical, except for a different name and colour. Anyway, I've tracked down a carburetor, so I'm going to take the easy option and replace it. I mean, this doesn't get used much, but I might as well try and have it functional. So that's the end of the generator saga for now.